G'day everyone and welcome to the Hurt Box podcast. Somehow we're back for another episode, which is really great. Thanks again for the feedback from everyone. We really appreciate it, and continue to do the like and share and subscribe or whatever it is. Simon will talk about that later. But look, I'm really excited about tonight. I've had a bit of a man crush on this guy since the mid-1990s.
Keep it clean, mate. Keep it
anyone
clean.
who was... What's that?
Keep it clean.
Look, anyone who's done a triathlon in Newcastle around the 90s and early 2000s knows very well who this guy is. And absolute legend, very humble guy, like most of our guests, no different, but an absolute champion, a champion guy. And look, in setting this up tonight, I've really enjoyed getting back in contact with this guy. It's been great to touch base and relive some old memories. So without further ado, tonight's guest is none other than Mick Jurd, or Jurdy as we all call him. So, mate, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Good
Thanks
stuff.
for having me on.
Good stuff, mate. And look, a good conversation tonight about what has been a pretty illustrious career, and we'll go into varying aspects of that. Mick, for those who don't know, was a pretty prominent Ironman triathlete and other distances as well. But, you know, Foster, New Zealand, and
See
most
over you. What's that we
importantly,
can
Hawaii.
see over your shoulder there, mate? What's that? What's that trophy?
That's my third placing over in Hawaii Ironman in 1993, the age group place award, which gave me third in the world for 18 to 24.
That's incredible.
Not bad. Not bad. 93. So would you rate that as your greatest performance?
Yeah, it would have to be on the world stage.
Yeah. Wow.
110
Third in your age group.
Yeah, there was 90 competed from worldwide in that age group. So
Who came in ahead of you on that day?
a couple of Germans come in 37th and 43rd in about 8 minutes quicker than me, because 30, in the last 30 years, I've had to go back through the archives to find all the results, and the transparency of everything's been a bit vague. So I actually just went through one of the results books today for the 93 results. A couple of Germans, then myself, and then everyone would know Jason Shortus. I actually passed him with about a mile to go in the marathon.
Do you remember the day at all, mate? Do you have many memories of that day specifically?
Oh, well, that was actually my second Hawaii. So it all started a couple of years prior to that, watching my first one and just having the desires to get back there as a competitor rather than a spectator. And I did that in a 12-month period, which just, blew me away. But
so what was the first year you watched? What was the first year you watched, mate?
1991, up at the Australian Ironman, Foster.
Yep.
A couple of blokes raced head-to-head there, Tim Lang, Simon Wells, and they actually come in the top 100, and they actually qualified for Hawaii. And I was part of their support crew, went over to Hawaii 1991 to actually watch the World Championships. And that was Mark Allen. The GOAT. The GOAT, third victory after the Iron
We might come to it later, but Mick's got a great photo of actually training with Mark Allen. Believe that or not. Wow, mind-blowing. So, sorry, Mick, I'll stop. But tell us about the journey from going to watch it to then, what was the next step? What really grabbed you about it? Why did you think, I want to do this?
Well, it all started back as a teenager, basically. Just I wasn't, athletically talented to any extent, and the best I could ever come up with in high school was a 33rd place in year 7 at cross country. So I pretty well got rid of 33rd at zone. Yeah, at zone.
How far was that?
Oh, probably 3 kilometres. So from that point on, I realised I was never going to be a fast twitch fibre athlete. It was slow twitch all the way, endurance for me. So
it's all relative though, isn't it? What I would really like you to go into is your Hawaii experience and the times that you did. You know, I think your fastest time was 9:04, if I'm correct.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, basically what happened was after witnessing the Australian Ironman in 1991, I was swept away, just with so much fire in the belly and admiration for these guys to endure such distances. So naturally enough, I went over to watch a couple of representatives from Newcastle, and on that given day, I thought I need to be part of this. And, you know, I just transformed my whole life around the long distance triathlon.
So
I was working full time. What's that?
You must have had a decent level of fitness at the start. You must have been relatively fit to have been able to get from, you know, on the sidelines to actually participating.
No, well, I watched my first triathlon in '88, and that was up at Port Macquarie. You know, a lot of Novocastrians. It was quite a big triathlon back in around about September each year. Stu Adams and the likes of Langy and Craig Cates were all up there, and I said, this sport's for me. So for the next 5 months, I trained and went to the Central Coast Express Triathlon and come 99th in the first race. That was my first venture into multidiscipline sport, such as triathlon, and that's when I was hooked. And that from
so
that
it was a sprint distance or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Central Coast Express. So from that was 1989 through to that 91 experience at Foster. I'd only ever just competed recreationally, socially, and I obviously thought I had some sort of ability, so I trained as much as I could, and then just had to follow suit with all the guys that were getting the results to, you know, monkey see, monkey do. And
I think someone else might have said that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
When I actually got to witness Hawaii, that's basically the big dance. You know, that's the pinnacle of the sport, and it was just like being in the vortex of a tornado.
So how many hours a week of training were you doing to get to your first Hawaiian Ironman?
Probably 25 to 30. So yeah, the distances weren't excessively bad. I was still living at home at that stage. I think I was just 20, 22 and a half, maybe just moved out. So I was actually a coal miner to December 1992. So I was on shift work. So I used to arrive from Rankin Park all the way out to Awabba on dog watch each night. That's how I was getting the miles up on the bike. Yeah. And then basically I had an extraordinary result over there on my first Hawaii. That was my second Ironman all up. I ended up placing 87th outright, which was 6th in the world as a 22-year-old for my age group, and 6 Aussie home. And then
incredible.
I thought sky was the limit at that stage. And as soon as I come home from there, I was actually handed a notification from Elcom Newcom Collieries that I was going to be made redundant. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise, because a couple of the volunteers,
free training time.
A couple of volunteers that I'd met back in '91 stayed in touch with me and come over to watch me in '92. They happened to be living in the Mecca of triathlon, which happened to be Boulder, Colorado. And as soon as I'd been in touch with them that I've got no job, but I was pretty flush, you know, being paid out from the coal mines from 7 years. They said, why don't you come and live over here for the summer?
Wow.
So who was that?
It was just a female friend I'd hooked up with the previous couple of Ironmans and just stayed in touch with her. And she was actually working as in healthcare as a nurse in Boulder. And she said, I think you might get some a bit of a lift and be in good company over here. If you're interested at living at altitude, I'll accommodate you over here and you just train.
So that just turned your life.
Through, mate.
That turned your life.
It was the.
Sorry,
Shut
let
up,
me go.
Simon. It was the Mecca of triathlon. Who was there? Scott Molina, Aaron Baker, Mark Allen. The list goes on.
Oh yeah, Christian Bustos. He's the one that went head to head with Mark in 1992, and he come second to him over there then. But yeah, there was probably 15 to 20 of the top pros there. You know, the big four. Scott Tinley, I think he actually sort of had a break that particular year, but Dave Scott is known ultimately as a man and the first inductee to the World Ironman Hall of Fame. Both him and Mark have won 6 Ironmans, but his sister was the coach over there, the swim coach.
Yeah, wow.
But,
So you just spent your whole day training with these guys. Did you ever feel like you were, going to beat them? Or you're on top of them? Were you going, run for leg on a run? Were you feeling super strong at the time?
oh yeah, well, I was improving all the time, what have you. But just remember, I was still just an age grouper at that stage. It wasn't until that result in '93 that I realised I'm going to chase corporate sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. I can make something of this, particularly after I beat Jason. He was, pretty gifted sort of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just got him at the end just due to a poor run leg for him. So the corporate sponsorship, I ended up running about 3:14 in that marathon.
Just pause on that. Just pause on that for a sec, mate. For those people at home who don't know what that means you've run 4.5 minute Ks for 42 Ks. That's a 22:30 park run on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And do it 8 times.
That's correct. That's all I can manage these days, by the way. A park run and a 500-metre swim effort this afternoon that just about killed me.
At least you got out there, mate. At least you got out there.
There's rumours of a comeback.
Oh, I am doing a little bit, yeah. This has inspired me. Your Hurt Box series, I must say. Absolutely.
So did you have a favourite leg? Did you have, once you got out onto the course?
Oh, it's definitely a swim.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a swim, mate. Yeah.
So the Ironman's a 3.1 K swim?
3.8.
3.8.
Yeah. So
and for the geeks out there, Jurdy, what's your best swim time? 49?
I think it was maybe a little bit short in the year of 94 when I went terribly close to breaking 9 hours. It was 9 hours and 39 seconds for a quarter place. I think I went 46:51.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. But, we used to always swim across Lake Macquarie, a whole heap of Newcastle Triathlon Club members. We had a lot of camaraderie there and the likes of Mark Phillips, Denise Clark, Rob Walker. They were the presidents over the years that I participated and, it was a real family affair. They all migrated up to Foster and we had one of the biggest support crews right through the 90 of cheer squads, which helped tremendously. Really did. But, getting back to Hawaii, I ended up travelling interstate and everything while I was there. Went down to the Texas Long Course Championships and come 7th outright there and did the Denver Marathon 9 weeks before Hawaii and did 3:02 just as a training run. I just stayed aerobic the whole time and went round with the leading New Zealand female runner. We did 3:02, and the beauty with training there was it was 5,500 feet, or basically 1.8 kilometres above sea level. So you're increasing your hemoglobin, and coming back down to altitude, it made a massive difference.
Yeah,
was,
wow. What an
really
experience.
good.
How long were you there for, mate?
8 months. 8 months.
And you're
I
entirely
went straight
self-funded.
to Hawaii. I went straight to Hawaii from Boulder in October '93. So yeah, I was just primed for that race, and that was
and can you tell us about the intensity of Hawaii? I've been there as a spectator, and just the environment. Can you tell us about your experience when you got off the plane? What did you think?
It's a really good question, actually, because it just gives me goosebumps. You asking me the question, hairs standing up on the back of my neck, because you actually get out on the airport there and at Kona, because the main island's Oahu, which all the international flights come into. So you've got to go over to the big island of Hawaii, which is about a 50-minute air flight, and just in a little transporter, maybe 40, 50 people on deck, and you actually go over all the volcanic lava fields that have all gone into the ocean over the years, and it's somewhat of an active volcano in recent years. So you get out, and it's basically like a nor'wester on a hot summer's day with that hot wind blowing in your face, and you just think, how foul's this? It's basically like that every day. So you get out with this, asphalt-looking landscape that just absorbs all the heat. And, that's what it's renowned for, the actual course over there, the trade winds. Basically just snaps your legs, the crosswinds over there. Anyone that you ask will just say there's nothing ever like it. You're just going in like a full-on southerly. And you think, I'll get a tailwind on the way home, but it changes direction.
And what about the heat on the run?
So, getting back to the swim, basically, that's just paradise in itself, because you're swimming 1.9 kilometres in a straight line, then you turn around, and you probably get in 30 metres water, 30 metres of depth at Kailua Kona, and you can see the bottom the whole way,
Yeah.
When I've done it right through to 98, that was my fourth time. You got about 1,700 people. I think there's about 2,500 people do it now. So that in itself is very intimidating. So you get out of that, and most people are pretty dehydrated by that stage,
You were doing all that self-funded at the time, weren't you?
More or less, yeah. I never had any financial sponsorship ever.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get to the heat and the run, and it's a whole new ball game, because the marathon in itself is just such an accomplishment. And I had gastric problems and everything for the 4 or 5 days, maybe a week. You get there before race day so you can acclimatise. But that's all beside the point. You're racing basically a maximum. After virtually my first one, you just learnt just to go basically as hard as you could from the get-go and just hold on.
No way.
Yeah, you don't pace yourself. Not when you're, chasing, fast times, and that's what just I've got to pinch myself for these days. How you can actually sustain, your anaerobic threshold to be so close to your VO2 max without going into oxygen debt and building such lactic acid up. So getting back to Hawaii in '93, you actually go through a place called the Energy Lab. That's actually down near the airport. And the temperatures are only like 33, maybe 34, but it's just the humidity. It's just searing. Anyone that's been up to North Queensland and just drains you. So if you're not sweating, you've dehydrated too much. That's how intense it actually is. But I actually went into a walk in the 93 Hawaii Ironman down there. I thought my race had been run and it was over and out for me. And
you've still got how long to go after the energy lab, mate? How long to go?
16 kilometres. 16K.
Yeah, wow. So how do you get yourself through that?
Well, what happened was there was energy gel pack station, hydration stations, and they had Gatorade there and Lepin Squeezies.
Yeah, the old Lepins. Wow.
Yeah, I hadn't come across them to a great degree, other than being sponsored by Maxim, which was in the 90s, just a powder form, similar to Powerade, Gatorade. It was just loaded with electrolytes. So, believe it or not, I've just had like 45 milligram, probably 2 or 3 satchels. And within like 2 or 3 minutes, it got me back to running sub 5 minute Ks.
Wow.
From that point on.
Wow.
But I've had a few superlatives comments leading up to this interview tonight, and I just I'm blown away by just how many compliments I have had, but it's all proportional to what you aspire to in terms of how good some of these guys are out there. Like I still consider myself just an age grouper all the way through there, and you're trying to better yourself in every performance, but you're still like 20 to 30 minutes slower than the top guys. It's just complete admiration.
Go back to the pain. How did you deal with that? So you've just gone through a swim, you've gone on a 180K bike ride, you're into the run. How do you get to the space where you can actually deal with that pain and that suffering to get through? Is it because of your training? Is it because of the day? Is it because your end goal is to get to the finish line? What is it that gets you through that pain?
Well, it's the old adage, good preparation prevents poor performance. So basically, I really enjoyed the training side of the preparation leading up to every Ironman. So the more hurt that I got out of training, the better I felt I was prepared. And throughout a lot of the races, you always went to a low point at some point over that 9 hours of racing, because you're on your maximum your whole time, So you mentally had to be extremely tough to be able to do it.
At what point did you start after you've
it was always in the back of my mind, the pain's short-lived, Jurdy.
Yeah.
But the memories will last forever. I always used to say that to myself. Believe it or not, something is that simple.
What was your weekend training regime, mate? I know the answer to this, but I want you to share with everyone what your Saturdays and Sundays involve typically.
Yeah, well, I went pretty intensely from 92 right through to 1998, and I only missed 96. And I qualified for Hawaii every year, every one of them years, with whatever national race I did, except in 97 when I went to in the pro section, and my run didn't sort of perform that well. So I come in about 37.
We've got an echo there, Simon.
You there?
You're right. Good stuff. Keep going, Mick. You're right, mate.
I still come in about 38th, but because I entered the pro section, because the previous race that I did in 95, I actually come in the top 10, and they said that was the last time they were going to give prize money to an age grouper. So I had to go in the pro section the following year. So I missed out from Hawaii. I missed out going to Hawaii in 97. So other than that, 94, I did qualify. That's the year Welshie won. And I had actually an adductor strain. 6 weeks out from the race, and I was getting treatment on it and everything, and I pulled out on the Friday, and then it ended up being fixed the following Monday. So I missed going to. That was probably my biggest regret.
And mate, if I do go back to those years, I'm going to say maybe 96, 97 for me is when I reckon I first met you, which was on the Thursday morning Raymond Terrace Hell Ride, the old Raymond Terrace Express.
Yeah.
I've got this memory of you being on some kind of blue bike at one stage, and maybe it was a mongoose at one stage. Is that right?
Yeah. I had about 5 or 6 bikes. That's one of them.
For those who don't know, that ride was just ridiculous. It was insane. It was dangerous, but the people who were there, Stewie Adams was doing it on a mountain bike sometimes.
Yeah.
Steve Darracott, Boyd, Nathan, yourself. It was the who's who of the triathlon world, and that's my first memory of you, mate. I think that's where I first met you. So some of those training sessions.
Yeah. Like I said, the longer any training session went, the more I come into my own. And I knew if I was hurting, other people would be. So I was happy to go to the front all the time on the bike. And just getting back to the answering your previous question of some of your best training sessions, they were always bricks, mate. And that all culminated in my last time in 2002 with an old bloke that used to push the bike pretty hard. He's still going around, funnily enough, Steve Darracott. And
we're trying to get him on the show, but he's too scared.
Yeah, he's a bit shy, actually.
We'll get him.
He's a bit of a gear masher, but I'll just give you a quick example. There was the likes of him, Mick Cowling, Dave Collins, Ben Johnson, and what have you, and we'd all rock up at the Matara Hotel at 4:30 every Saturday morning, probably 14 weeks out from the 2002 Ironman. And you'd be thinking, oh, this is going to be nice and sociable. And as soon as we started going through Charlestown, Steve's mission was to drop everyone. So it was a road train straight away. And we'd do 195K every Saturday morning. And we'd actually terminate up at top of Gosford at Carryong Shell Servo, where we'd stop for a sugar fix and what have you. And Steve, again, would get back on the bike sooner rather than later and get the shits if we stayed there too long. And then he basically heard us coming home as well. And then we'd run anything up to 25K. Steve would be happy to do it in speedos, but he wouldn't be real proud of the fact that I've mentioned that, because he couldn't run to save himself, the old bloke.
Hey, gents, can you both hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it's coming in and out, mate.
So we have to end this chat because we're getting close to time and Zoom is going to cut us off. But before we go, I just wanted to show that photo, mate. That's of your Hawaii 93, wasn't it?
Which photo would that be?
Was that Foster, is it?
Foster 94. I've done a 9 hours, and 95 I did 9:08 and 14th and 8th respectively.
We will put up all your
held
photos.
The age group record.
We're running out of time. We're running out of time, fellas. Sorry, we've got like a minute. So can we just say a huge thank you to Mick? Thanks for your time tonight, mate. It's been fantastic to be able to sit down and chat with you. We'll post. Thanks for having me. Pleasure, mate. We'll post the interview up on the internet. We'll post the photos up there. It's been great to sit down and talk with you. Great to hear your insights. I'd be keen to come back and have another chat, mate. Be keen to hear what you did after your Ironman career.
Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you about what life has done for me since then.
Triathlon. Yeah.
But look,
mate, thank you. As
Simon
said, Jurdy, thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you again soon, mate. We'll go through some more.
I'm just thrilled for the opportunity, guys. Appreciate it.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you so
much.
Bloody
legend.
Right,
awesome.
boys.